If you have been watching the stock market lately, you have probably noticed something semiconductor stocks are soaring. And there's a clear reason for that. A massive AI driven tidal wave of demand for for a very special type of memory that's reshaping high performance computing. Can anyone guess what it is? It is this insane pressure on the GPU processing doing the thinking, but as we are about to see on the memory space. Why it's so important that companies like NVIDIA or even AMD are basically betting their most powerful and expensive AI chips on it will. To give you an idea of the scale, we're talking about a year with this number by 2029, the market for this one memory technology is projected to hit an absolutely staggering $38 billion. And that's just not growth, my friends. That's an explosion. In this chart, it clearly lays out the explosion perfectly. We go from $5.5 billion in 2023 to a $14 billion this year alone, and then it nearly triples by 2029. And this demand is not your phone or laptop driving this, it's almost entirely filled by the demand for servers in massive data centers. If you're closely watching Micron semiconductor stocks, the stocks are going 91% this year. And what's behind this rally? This is just Micron building the new special type of memory, racing with other two semiconductor companies. This is exactly where VRAM enters the picture. VRAM stands for video RAM, which is totally specialized type of memory built for one job and one job only. You can think it of as the super fast staging area, a buffer that holds all the stuff the GPU needs right now, all the textures of the 3D models, the frame data, everything that's ready at a moment's notice. VRAM is basically the GPU's personal dedicated workbench. If you're building something really complicated, you want all your tools and parts right there within your arm's reach. If you have a tiny slow workbench, you're constantly running back and forth to the supply closet and nothing gets done. VRAM is that huge ultra-fast workbench that lets you the GPU to work on 4K gaming, complex AI models without ever skipping a beat. Here it comes the GDDR, graphics double data rate, optimized for data processing using servers, laptops, and workstations for video processing and gaming. RAM, that's in our computer system. That's like a sports car. It's built for low latency, meaning it's a super quick to fetch one small piece of data and bring it back fast response. But GDDR is a massive multi-lane superhighway. It's not about responding to one request quickly. It's about pure raw data bandwidth. It's designed to move an absolutely colossal amount of data all at the same time. The sheer volume of traffic it can handle is just immense, and we can see path so clearly. The journey from GDDR3 back in the 2000s, which was the workhorse for entire console generation, all the way to GDDR5, which dominated for nearly a decade. It was just this relentless push to make the data highway wider and wider. Each new version just pushed more data faster, and that leads us to today with GDDR6, which is pretty much the champion for mainstream in the consumer graphics cards. Instead of laying memory chips out flat side by side on a circuit board, which takes up a ton of space, and it means it has to travel further, a new memory design stacks them vertically one on top of the other. The new vertical memory design was a necessary solution to a huge growing problem. And that problem has a name, it's called the memory wall. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that point where your processor is so insanely fast that your memory just can't keep it up. It cannot feed it data fast enough. I love this analogy of having a Formula One car stuck in a rush hour traffic. You have got all this incredible power under the hood, but it's unable to move forward. The new memory design uses 3D stacking to arrange DRAM chips vertically, creating a skyscraper of memory that has a smaller footprint and much wider data paths than conventional memory. Let's get just a little technical for a second. HBM is basically a stack of memory chips, one on top of the other. But here is the really clever part, how it all connects to the processor. They use this special ultra-fast silicon layer called an interposer. You can think it of like a massive private superhighway connecting the memory skyscraper directly to the GPU. It's all about speed and building. One of the things is pretty incredible. You can start at the bottom with the foundation, right? That's a little logic chip that acts the building manager. Then you start stacking the floors. These are the actual memory chips, and they are connected with this tiny little elevators called through silicon vias that go straight up through the stack. And finally, you have that bridge we just talked about, the interposer, connecting the whole skyscraper to the GPU. It's an amazing piece of friends. I like this analogy. It's like a really narrow but super fast moving stream. Like water rushing through canyon. On the other hand, it's like a giant, wide, slow moving river. Both of them can move a ton of water, in our case, data. They just do it in a completely opposite ways. And to give you a sense of how wide river is, check this out. A single stack of HBM3 memory has a bus that is 1024 bits wide now, compared to that standard DDR5 memory in our brand new PC. DDR3 is kind of like a big sprawling single story house. It takes up a ton of land, and getting from one end to other end is pretty slow. HBM on the other hand is a skyscraper. It stacks everything vertically, packing a mind-boggling amount of capacity and speed into super tiny footprint. So how does HBM solve this? It doesn't chip away at the wall, it smashes right through it. It delivers more than 3 times the bandwidth for every single watt of power compared to the old GDDR5 memory. I mean, that's not just a small step, that's a revolutionary leap in efficiency. And for huge data centers where power is everything, that's an absolute game changer. Hey, remember our skyscraper, the other massive payoff is because it's built up instead of HBM design slashes the physical space. It needs by an incredible 94%. That's just a while. There's chip designs cram more power into tinier spaces. Whenever you have a technology this groundbreaking, so what's pouring all the fuel on this fire? Well, if you ask a VP from the market leader SK Hynix, he will tell you it's one thing, generative AI, the absolute explosion of things like ChatGPT from OpenAI, and this AI journey has created this bottomless appetite for HBM. It's basically a cemented HBM as the go-to memory for anything AI. And if you want to really grasp how big this boom is, just look at the money. The market is projected to more than double in just 1 year, and from there it's expected to almost triple again by 2029, hitting an absolutely staggering $38 billion. Now you see why this race for market share is so intense, right? But here is the thing, HBM is not just for those massive AI data centers, not by a long shot. It's a crazy combination of speed, efficiency, and in tiny size means that it's about to pop up in a lot of other places. HBMs are driving the future of high performance computing everywhere, powering AI, cloud, and advanced analytics. First off, the tech itself is just getting faster and faster at a ridiculous pace. The very first generation of HBM1, the pin speed is 1 gigapulse, and the current version HBM3 is already doing over 8 gigapulse pin speed, and they're not stopping. The next generation HBM4 is already on the drawing board with an even bigger data pipeline. The piece is just relentless overnight success. AMD's journey with the high bandwidth memory began over a decade ago, driven by the vision to break through traditional memory bottlenecks and unlock unprecedented performance for GPUs and compute platforms. AMD started tinkering with this stuff back in the late 2000s. They could see that traditional memory was just going to keep demanding more and more power, and they started working on a solution almost a decade before the AI homemade. It absolutely critics crazy. The hardest part was not even the mind-bendingly complex technology. According to AMD, the real nightmare was building a whole new supply chain from scratch. They had to get chip foundries, packaging companies, and testing facilities to work together. Just look at these numbers before the ChatGPT and the whole AI craze. The SBM market was pretty small now, and it's on fire. It's projected to more than a triple in just 5 years, going from a $2 billion to over $6 billion. There's explosive growth. Right now, it's a 3 hours race. SK Hynix from Korea partnered with the AMD early on, and that set SK Hynix with a huge head start, with more than half the market. And their crosstown rival Samsung is in a fierce battle for second place with the American company Micron trying to catch up. And the amount of money being thrown at this is just staggering. Both SK Hynix and Samsung are investing around $1 trillion each. We are talking hundreds of millions of US dollars just to double their HBM production. And it's an all-out sprint to build as much of this stuff as they possibly can. You have to understand this HBM gold rush couldn't have come out a better time for companies like Samsung and SK Hynix. The market for normal memory, like for phones and PC, have been absolutely brutal. Profits plunged by like 95%. HBM is one single bright spot that basically helping to save their entire business. AMD's original vision for HBM was never just about GPUs. It's a low power design makes it perfect fit for things like edge computing and especially cars, which need to process insane amounts of data from cameras and sensor without draining the battery. The biggest roadblock right now, honestly, just the price. Yeah, AI is driving the HBM train today, but the big takeaway here is that we are only seeing the very beginning of what this technology can do. What started as a clever fix for a power problem ended up becoming the engine of the entire AI revolution. And that just leaves one question: what industry is going to revolutionize, and it's going to go everywhere? And I'm talking about self-driving cars that need to process info from tons of sensor. Think about next gen and virtual reality headsets, and that have to be buttery smooth. So it's going to be crucial for all these technologies.